Niffelheim was a game that was sent to me via press key from the developer, and it was a title that I was not expecting what I found when we play this on stream. Unfortunately, that's not always a good thing. But what we have here is a very interesting take on a survival meets almost a quasi-RPG kind of experience. The game itself can be played both single player and multiplayer, but there's definitely a greater focus on multiplayer that we'll talk about later on. But the idea is that we are in the land of the dead, and our mission is to kind of ascend and get to Valhalla. Standing in our way, of course, is brutal winters, the undead, giant spiders, rats, all those lovely standards of RPG design. Now, the footage that you're seeing is being sped up as well, but Niffelheim's core gameplay loop is built on abstracted progression. You're going to gather resources that you can use to craft more goods. You can use those goods to either sell for money or resources, or to upgrade your character. Performing any task will upgrade your character's core abilities, allowing you to do more with them. The more you fight, the better at combat you get, and you get the picture there. Now, the world itself, and this is kind of the interesting aspect of Niffelheim, is that it's split between various territories. Each territory will have a set of resources, as well as what enemies and things you're going to find in it. There is also a hub city that you can go to get more resources or move the game's main story along. But your overall objective is to basically grow in power, to go into dungeons to explore, and gather the elements you need to begin ascending to Valhalla. And as you're seeing from the footage here, you're going to be spending a lot of time crafting items and going along things like that. Now, as you move throughout the world here, one thing to keep in mind is that this is very much an RPG experience. Despite things moving in real time, do not be expecting combat at the same level of stuff like Death's Gambit, Dead Cells, or any other action-based game. The whole real complexity is just being able to move in and out of the enemy's hitbox to avoid their follow-up attack. Now, as you play through, you're going to mainly be upgrading your own keep, and the keep itself is the main persistence system. From the keep, you're able to improve your weapons, your gear, unlock crafting and cooking recipes, as well as upgrade the keep itself so that if you are attacked, it has more defense and can offer you more protection if things start to go bad. But as you can see by the footage here, this is where the long form of Niffelheim's gameplay comes from. The better the gear you can craft will allow you to do more in the world, which in turn gets you more resources, and so on and so forth. Now, every piece of gear has durability to it, and if it runs out, it's going to break, forcing you to either repair it or replace. But for the most part, like the basic survival of Niffelheim is on the easy side. Despite spending about an hour playing, we never hit that point where things would have gone horribly wrong, like characters going to starve to death or things like that. And each area does give you enough basic resources to keep your character alive. And I was glad that it didn't focus so much on hardcore survival and more or less leaned into kind of the Subnautica style, which is, yes, there is survival, but you can quickly get past it and get to the good stuff. With that said, however, the good stuff in Niffelheim can be a bit hard to get to, especially if you're playing it solo. And we're going to talk about that part next, but first, a quick shout out to our Patreon backers. And now for a quick thank you to our Patreon backers. And if you'd like to continue this discussion on game design, you'll find our Discord channel linked down below. Now, I fast forward about 15-20 minutes from the last part before the Patreon shoutout, and you're probably noticing that we are still doing the same basic things. And this is kind of one of the issues Niffelheim has. That despite having single player options, this is definitely a multiplayer oriented game. And the main reason is how slow progression is otherwise. You have to go into the world to collect resources, bring them back, make use of them, go back out, and there's so many different upgrades and items to gather that it starts to become a little bit overwhelming for just one person. You haven't, or I've been keeping the footage kind of relatively straightforward, but this game is one of those titles that features a ton of items to get, from various food, materials, secondary or tier 2, tier 3 materials and items, weapons, you name it. There's set pieces, and it gets even more and more as you keep going in the game. And it gets to that point where it just becomes a mess of things to keep track of, and why the game definitely is built on a multiplayer system. How it works in Niffelheim is that there's two kinds of multiplayer. You have co-op and competitive, and both can take place on the same shard or server or instance. Basically, there's 4 tribes, and each tribe gets the same classes of Vikings. That doesn't change. But if 4 people are part of the same tribe, then they're basically going to be working together, and the game essentially becomes kind of like a shared multiplayer experience, similar to stuff like Terraria, Minecraft, and etc. If players go into a different tribe, they will show up on a different sector of the map, and then there will be PvP between them, as your tribe will fight the opponents, and you're basically trying to see who will get more power. And it's a very clever idea of having both forms of multiplayer built into the game, but it's also where the game is balanced and scaled towards. If you're just trying to do things single player, it is going to take you a lot more time to do anything in terms of getting the resources and making upgrades. Not only that, but when you're inside the dungeons, which are pure combat, you are going to be hit with so many enemies at once that it just becomes a slog to go through. And as you can see here, as we head into the shop, the game definitely goes for the style of, here's all these items, see if you can make use of them or make sense out of them. And I wish the tutorial did a little bit of a better job of kind of prepping you for the core gameplay loop. It basically just teaches you, go here, kill these enemies, here's some food, and that was pretty much it. But with that said, we're going to begin to wrap things up here for this first look, and Niffelheim is a very interesting game. I think, like I said, that this works best in a multiplayer setting, and maybe at some point we could do a co-op night of it. But if you're looking for kind of a single player, action-oriented game with persistence, this is not that game. Again, all the combat that you see is very mechanical. It's very much built on abstraction. There's no dodge rolls, no greater input on that side. Instead, this is more or less kind of a survival RPG. And like I said, if you have 2 or 3 friends who are in the mood for some Viking action, this could be a great game to check out. But it's kind of hard out there for just one Viking in the land of the dead. But with that said, we're going to wrap up things here. Thank you for watching, and I would like to thank the developers for giving me a press key to check this one out. If you'd like me to take a look at your game in the future, please don't hesitate to get in touch, but check back for daily discussions on game design here, and on Game Wisdom, where examine the art and science of games. Once again, this has been Niffelheim, and I will see you all next time. If you're looking for a book on design, my first title, 20 Essential Games to Study, is out now. It is available where most books are sold, and it comes in paper, hardcover, or digital copies. This is the perfect book for anyone interested in learning about game design, whether you are a student, enthusiast, or just a fan. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel linked down below where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.